You know, Jalas, how people don't even know their own history. You know, like us Africans, we tend to forget our history. And someone once said, if you ever want to hide a secret, put it in a book. Because that's what we do, we just forget. When we were in Dakar, Senegal, doing some stories, the locals told us of a place, because Dakar is right on the coast of Africa, west coast. He told us there's an island right over there, across from us. You need to visit that island. And we said, why? What's on it? He says, you need to visit. So one day, there were ferries that would actually go there every day, carrying mostly European tourists. Once in a while, the African Americans would come and visit the island as well. So this particular day, we were with a group of African Americans. Actually, it was mixed. There was Europeans, African Americans, and we wanted to go across to the island. Locals call it Île de Gorée.
Île de Gorée.
Yes, or Gorée Island, right off the coast of Dakar in Senegal. So, Jalas, it's a 30-minute ferry ride. So everyone's always excited when you're in the water, in the Atlantic. You're approaching this island. It's like Robben Island when you went there in Cape Town.
Yeah, in Cape Town.
Very similar. So we get to Gorée Island, and the mood immediately changes. There's a guide who comes. He welcomes everybody and says, please walk in a line. And he takes us through. And the first thing we see is this place they call the open market. This open market is probably, 200, 300 years old. And in the market, there are still relics from 200, 300 years ago. So you see handcuffs, you see chains, you see leg irons, you see all kinds of paraphernalia. And of course, immediately you know this was part of slavery. And the guide, now he talks us through it. He says once the natives, he called them, once the natives were brought from the mainland, and over here they were divided. Strong men, weak men, strong women, weak women, strong children, weak children.
What?
Divided now. And then, of course, it's an auction, so everybody's coming. The ships are over there across the water. You can see the ships. And now people are buying these Africans, slaves, to take them over to the new lands.
Wow.
So, of course, the healthy, strong ones will be the first ones to go. Boom, boom, boom. And then, of course, the strong women, because what their thinking was if you breed a strong man with a strong woman, you get strong children. Women, boom, 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 boom. And then, of course, not so strong will be put outside, and the weak kids aside to be fattened. So they're not going to go on this ship that's ready. They're going to go on another ship. So these people are put on the ship, boom, 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 on a boat, a rowing boat, and then taken out because the ships couldn't come all the way to the island, right? The ships are waiting out.
What?
In the meantime, the weaker ones, they had these, for lack of a better word, cages on this island, Gorée Island. There were caves where they would put the weak men, weak women, weak children, and now feed them for maybe 6 weeks, because, the next ship is coming in 6 weeks. We're going to fatten these people so that we can get good money for them so that they can go off into the new world. And in these caves, we entered the caves. Now the guide is taking us in the caves. Shackles everywhere, on the wall. The shackles stuck to the wall and to the ground, where if the slave became agitated, they will be chained inside the cave for however long, and then just fed manually by, someone who was there. And these caves, Jalas, I'm talking 300 years later, you could hear the screams as we're walking in, we're getting the tour. You could hear screams, you could hear, something from a horrible past. And then, as we're walking in, this is where they were tortured, this is where they were disciplined, this is where they were kept, all that stuff, caves everywhere. And then as we're walking, we're not coming back to the entrance, we're going towards the sea now. There was a big, dark door or opening. And, of course, it was a door. And the guide opened this door, and beyond that was the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. And they called this in French, they called it La Porte de Nourriture, the door of no return. This was the last point. The slave, it's like here on the edge of this, the door was here and the ships were here. The slaves would be put on this boat, from this boat onto the ship, and they would never see their homeland again. The door of no, if you see that. Now, the African Americans, the guide is explaining all of this in French and English, and the African Americans now are starting to cry. You can see people are tearing. The Europeans are already crying, right? But the African Americans now, they're starting to cry. They're saying, what? This is what happened to our forefathers, our grandfathers, great-grandfathers. And you could see the change of mood right away. You could see that they were feeling the screams and shouts and pleas of their forefathers. And of course, we were filming all of this, and it was incredible to see how something like this can affect these people. And we found out Gorée Island was not the only island on the coast. If you go along the whole West Africa coast, all the way to Cape Coast in Ghana, same thing. Castles where slaves were traded and bought and shipped. All the way even here in Shimoni on the East Coast. They did the same thing here on the East Coast of Africa for slaves who were going to the Middle East and stuff. But Gorée Island, and I recommend everybody, whoever ends up in Dakar, Senegal, and you have half a day free, take that ferry to Gorée Island. You will see the madness that was being perpetrated 200-300 years ago, not today. It didn't start yesterday or the day before. 200-300 years ago, when local chiefs would go and capture
Their own people.
And trade them to some Arab or some European at the coast. These people will be put on a boat or a rowing boat, taken over to Gorée Island and fattened. You know, like how you fatten cows in an abattoir.
Yeah.
So that they can fatten up, ready for the kill. The same thing. And these slaves, you can imagine the conditions once they got onto the ship heading to the New World. Unbelievable. They say, these are stories, or these are unconfirmed reports, that there were more than 100 million Africans who were shipped over to the New World. Half of them didn't make it. Because
died on the way.
Died on the way. They were thrown off the ship. They got sick, so they were tossed off the ship so that they don't make the other slaves sick. They were, those ship owners who didn't carry enough food to take them all the way to the New World, they would now get rid of some of their cargo, like the movie. I don't know if you ever watched the movie called Amistad. Unbelievable stories. So there's not enough food on the ship, and you
throw off your cargo.
Yeah, you throw excess cargo so that your slaves arrive in the New World nice and strong, so that they can be bought and shipped over to the sugar plantations of America and Cuba, and the cotton fields of Alabama and Mississippi. All those places. I'm telling you, this history out of Gorée Island is eerie, it's scary, but it's a reminder. Huh? It's a reminder of not only what we've gone through, but what can happen. What can indeed happen when we sell our souls to the devil, when we sell out our own fellow tribe person and say, this is not one of us, he doesn't look like us, so wacha ende. That's how it starts. It's as easy as that. And that is what we call
a story.
It's the Hot Breakfast with Jeff and Jelano.